Welcome and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Network, and I am your host, Shay Vaughn. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that's created by women and for women. And joining us today on WBTVN's Spotlight Expert Show is an amazing guy from a place that I just moved from Chicago. So Jeremy Green has over 20 years of venture tech and food operations experience to the Eat Purely team as Chief Executive Officer and co-founder. He advised on the creation of Digital Intents Founder Equity Fund, and has expertise in running and scaling and exiting a multitude of different online and offline businesses. Thank you, Jeremy, for being on our show today.
Thank you. Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I always like to ask our guest is, what was it like growing up, and where did all this passion come from to get you to actually where you are today?
Well, thanks for that question. That's a great question, actually. So I grew up in the northern suburbs for my sort of high school life. But previous to that, we grew up in sort of a very farther northern suburb, and Wheeling and Libertyville. And I grew up in the household of an entrepreneur. My father started several businesses, but his last business was the one that was quite lasting, and the one that I eventually was involved in about half of my career. And so he instilled in me a lot of this sort of my value set and what I look to in life and people, and things like make each day your masterpiece, or every day is an opportunity for improvement, and not to be too high or not to be too low, and good or bad things happen, that sort of thing. But he started a company that was a catering business, and it eventually became one of the largest catering businesses in Illinois. And I got the good sort of luck to work alongside him for about a decade, and it was quite an experience. So from that business, that's where I sort of gained a lot of perspective, as well as passion for food. Food's been in my blood. It's been in my family since I've been a little boy. So,
well, I love that, because my background is in health and wellness and fitness, and I think that we share the need to really share our expertise with the world so that we can help them to live a healthier life. And that's certainly exactly what you've been doing. So I'm interested in, tell me all about Eat Purely, and how did you come up with the name, and where did it start?
Sure. So Eat Purely, just quickly, is we make chef-made, healthy, organic meals delivered in 20 minutes or less from our mobile app. We also allow folks to order ahead of time within a week's notice for a delivery within an hour time block. All of our meals use organic ingredients, clean ingredients. We don't use a lot of buttercream. We don't use any additives. We don't use any GMOs. It's beautiful, clean, great ingredient, a very high quality ingredient food that is made by chefs that you would find at Alinea and all these other places. And so there's no sacrifice in flavor for what people typically think of as a diet. And so it makes it super convenient, really easy to eat really well at an affordable price point. And starting where we began, the mission really was to enable and inspire healthy living. And that in itself, from its, as you asked, where did it come from and where was the name? That really came out of my desire to, I know this sounds a little quirky, but it changed the world. Because my father, who had started that catering business that I was telling you about, who was around food his entire life, actually ended up having a heart attack. And then, from complications from that, he passed away years later. He simply put, that happened because healthy food that wasn't commercialized or had additives in it was simply just not available in his general purview. And this is a guy who was in the food service industry. So think about that. That had a big, big effect on me as to why I wanted to start this business, besides my own desires in my own life. I found that working late nights, being a very busy professional, thinking about all the food options between my work and my home, they just didn't add up. They weren't good enough. They might have been tasty and filling, but they were certainly not good for me. And the thought of running to Whole Foods at 9 p.m. at night just didn't attract me, because that's also very expensive and time consuming. So this was something that I really wanted. I wanted to get really healthy, delicious food, because delicious is important, by the time I got home from work, when I was leaving work, just like you can order an Uber, same concept. So.
Well, I love the concept, and I love the fact that I love the name Purely, because everybody purely wants to be healthy, and yeah, and food is just a major part of life, and unfortunately, people don't realize why they're actually eating the wrong kinds of food. And the reason that they're eating the wrong kinds of food, and I hope that you agree with me on this, is they're addicted, and they don't even know that they have an addiction. It's like the gal that goes to the grocery store, and she just keeps putting the same thing back in her basket, and thinking at the same time, I'm not really going to eat all of this. I'm going to parson it out and make it up. Mm-hmm. She gets in the car and she's got potato chips eaten before she even gets home. So,
right.
And we knew that. And the other thing that I think that is heartbreaking to me is that we have an epidemic anyway in obesity. And even more so now with children, with all the good food that we have out there and all the education that is out there, we have a higher rate of obesity than ever before, even than last year. Over 33% of children are either overweight or obese.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. And parents are really, concerned about these kinds of things, but who brings the food home? What are the choices that are being made? And so, I could tell you story after story of calls that I've gotten and different situations, but it really comes down to what are the choices that we're making. And if we aren't doing the right thing as far as food is concerned or exercise is concerned, what are some of the small things in our life that we can do to make it easier? And I want to just tell you, I'm saying that question and thinking in my head at the same time, they've just got to order food from you, because because it's yummy, as you said. It's got to taste delicious, and it's got to be convenient, because everybody's got multitasking jobs and things that they're doing and trying to do more than they should. But it's a fast-paced life that everybody leads, and so what they want is that instant. Where's it at? I don't want to make it. Less people are cooking all the time than ever before. And many times, as far as, even working and then going home, they stop someplace to, pick something up. I loved your comment also on Whole Foods. And that is that not everything in Whole Food, obviously, is organic. They've got, things that if you read the ingredients on the back and you knew, if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't be eating it if the word's on there.
Absolutely.
But I think that your solution to providing, affordable and easy to serve and delicious and healthy food is really where this world is going. And I think as more people, we have
to agree.
Yeah.
We really built this business to accommodate that, and it's a modern day business in a lot of ways. Insofar it solves those problems very specifically and particularly, because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have an obesity epidemic. We didn't even have some of the regulations that have been passed. We didn't have this pervasiveness of sugar substitutes and sugar, because as soon as sugar substitutes hit the marketplace, the price of sugar went down. Everything became cheaper. High fructose corn syrup is a great example. And so the last 20, 30 years have contributed to this obesity rate that you've mentioned in children. And if you look at the obesity rate in adults, it's double. 63% of all Americans are actually categorically obese. And that's because of the last 20 or 30 years of the way they thought that they should be eating. And it's not complicated. That's the funny thing. I think to your other point, I just want to make a quick comment, is the concept of choice. And I think you really nailed it and so eloquently described it. The case in point is that 74% of, if you go into a normal grocery store, 74% of every item on the shelf has either additives or something refined in it that the body really doesn't need. And so you're not really given a choice, because the choices are pretty binary. You're either going to get your food supply from the grocery store, or you're going to get it from a restaurant. A restaurant, don't even get me started on restaurants, because they're just trying to hook you and make you addicted to their delicious food with all that fat. Yeah. So you have two choices that are not choices. Right? You're going to the grocery store, 74% of the items have refined sugars and have additives and all this bad stuff, things you can't pronounce. And you have restaurants that are just, fat is flavor, they don't really care. They're just going to sort of shove a bunch of calories in you to make you feel satiated. When you eat our meal, you don't feel overfull, because it's sort of what I call calorie correct. You may at first feel a little hungry, immediately after eating our meals, but you wait 20 minutes and you feel very satiated, because it's high quality proteins, high quality carbs and vegetables, no refined anything, so right. You have more mental clarity, you have more energy at the end of the day, you suffer less from, these health complications. And here's the thing, I can't stop people from eating at McDonald's, nor do I want to. I want people to just be aware and to start changing this little by little, because it's very hard to change people's behavior. But if we can offer an alternative option that is priced accordingly and super accessible and fits into people's lifestyle, we can change how people feel, not only in their hearts, but in their minds as well.
I loved what you said on the part of, they may end up eating a meal, but I want to just say this to you, whether they ate your meal or another meal, shortly after that, they're still craving food. And so,
sorry, say that one more time.
So whether they're eating your food or someone else's, it's not unnatural for somebody to get up unless they've just packed their stomach and not feel a little bit hungry, or they want, something sweet to eat, or, they're looking for, for something else. And I loved your comment on just, give it a half hour, give it 20 minutes, give it something. And you'll start to feel the effects of feeling, more full than you did, because we eat so fast. That's why we put so much in our stomachs, is we eat way too fast to do that. And then you get up and you think you still can eat some more, where you really just need to chew your food better, make this, an experience, and not just, stuffing yourself. I also want to talk, I love that you said that, but I also want to talk about the difference between the word natural and organic. So as soon as I say this is all natural, I'm like, right? I know that. That means don't look on the back, don't read anything, just take my, just believe whatever I'm saying to you. Where organic definitely always has been more expensive. But you know what? Those costs are coming down also. And the truth of the matter is if more people just took the time now to pay that little bit more for it, and everybody wanted it, guess what would happen to that? The price would come down on that.
Well, sure. The invisible hand of the market will force that to be more available. There will be more producers making more of this stuff on a per acre basis, whatever it is. And it will be more accessible, which is what I want, because the market's big enough to support a very large business for us. But also, we're talking about a $4 to $5 billion a year industry, specifically in organic food that's considered whole foods, not the grocery store, but the whole food industry is even just prepared meal whole food industry that's organic. That's me. It's very specific. It's much greater than that as a whole if you go to the grocery store and all that stuff. So
and I think the interesting thing that I find too is that most people don't realize that eating an apple today isn't the same thing as eating an apple years ago. because it's
Mm-hmm.
depleted as far as the soil itself is concerned. So all of the minerals and whatever are less or not even in it that you really need. So it is important to eat, good things, but it's also important to know how it's growing so that you can have some of those minerals and you can have some of the value that in what you're eating. And that has got to be extremely important to, to our diet and how we feel, our energy, all of those things. I want to talk
specifically with that. You can see how this genetically modified stuff has been crossbred over time. And that's why people have gluten allergies all over the place. That's why peanut nut allergies have changed because those strands of DNA have been crossbred every year for 100 years. And if you look at some of the wheat coming out of, some of these other places like Mexico and, south of the border, we actually don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's not a non-natural process, and that is causing a lot of these, allergens.
It really is. And we just need to really get back to, our roots in really eating whole food that is, just actually food and hasn't been modified, in some way. Yeah. So
here's the thing: it tastes great, and there's nothing detrimental about it. The only reason why we're faced with this is because of the commercialization that ends at the dollar signs. And so there's no reason why we can't get back to that, though.
I agree. I totally agree. And you're helping all of us, to do that. I want to talk to you a little bit about, you recently founded and sold a company called Purely Fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've actually written a book, so I want to talk about those things. And you've got a program kind of where the book talks a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did start a company called Purely Fashion, and so that the idea behind it, the original idea behind it was a little different than what it ultimately became, of course. And being an entrepreneur, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
But that company was started to try to bring women's fashion to the masses so that it wasn't so exclusionary. What we did was we streamed hundreds of fashion shows coming right off the runway as they happened, and we showed their lookbooks and all these other things. And then what we wanted to do was take all what people liked and started to develop a digital data model of their personality so that we could service them up targeted offers to buy things, down the road. And we built up a nice database, and the data was what, kind of got exchanged at the end of the day. That's what ended up getting sold. And it was a great experience, and I learned a lot. And, it was just, it was one of those pathways that I think prepared me really well for this business, oddly enough.
Absolutely. I mean, we always start something and then we get, another idea about, how do we apply these same business, skills into another business that may be totally different, but still has the ability to make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I would have, if I would have just sort of started something, food related, 7-8 years ago when I exited the catering business that I worked in, with my family, it probably would have fallen flat. And, for me, Eat Purely is a culmination of everything that I know. I put my all into it every day, and it's really a collection of learnings. But at the end of the day, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and it's because I'm doing what I love and I'm doing what I know. And
exactly.
if you can combine those two things, I think that's the definition of success. Not how many cars you have in the garage, not how big your house is, not
Exactly.
I think when you can really be at the apex of that and of course, have high integrity and sleep well at night, that to me is the meaning of success and the definition of it.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that it's so important to really, sometimes we don't know what we are really passionate about. We know certain things that we like, it's important to really be able to sit down and kind of like ask yourself, what would your dream, job look like? What areas do you really feel like you know something about? And there's always still things to learn, but that you can, take that to maybe a different level, become that entrepreneur and do exactly what Jeremy has done. So I want to talk to you a little bit too about just Chicagoland, because I raised all my kids there. I have 3 children, Victoria, Valerie, and Vincent. And so I know where Libertyville is, but you were also in Deerfield for a while.
Yeah, we moved there when I was moving into 5th grade, and my family moved there to that community.
Okay.
And that was a little bit of a culture shock for me. I mean, the houses were bigger and the people were different, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Well, I think there's areas, no matter where you are, that it's more about what you have than who you are.
Yeah.
I
think my parents did a great job.
See me. What's that commercial? Do you see me now? It's not do you now, but it's do you see me now? And it's really about that, isn't it? About really taking the time to see the person that's in front of you for who they are, and not judge them by how many cars are in the,
and I think actually the world would be somewhat of a better place if folks were just a little more empathetic to others and what they've been through, and the concept of walking a mile in each other's shoes. But it's human nature to have sort of these tendencies, and it's almost like, with a little bit of balance and outlook, the world could be a little bit, nicer, especially given what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I see the art behind you. And so I want you to kind of like turn your chair a little bit and tell us a little bit about the art and some of the things that you love to do.
Yeah. So I, even though I'm a business guy through and through, I've worked for Ernst & Young and KPMG. Actually, my mother's an artist, and I spent every weekend, if I wasn't playing basketball during high school, I was at the Art Institute waiting for my mom to finish her classes. And so she got her master's in fine arts there, and she was the one that just kind of placed me in the middle of the museum of the School of the Art Institute Museum, and let me just roam free for hours and hours. And that, over time, what happened was I really realized that art was more meaningful than what I just thought as a kid, and it kind of soaked into me a little bit. And then I realized I was good at drawing things. I had very good eye-hand coordination. I could, at a young age, draw something pretty photogenically close. So I started to, as time went on in my life, I tried to keep that going, enhance that, use that side of my brain, because it was something I really, truly had a passion for and I loved. And so as time goes on, I was, started on the side to start painting, and then eventually I started selling some of those paintings, and then I got a studio down in Bridgeport, and I had to make a decision at some point: am I going to be a painter, or am I going to be an entrepreneur? And
exactly, I get it.
I chose obviously the latter, but I think I'm a painter. I love to paint. I haven't really painted in a while because I'm painting my masterpiece with Dee Purely. I love every single moment of it. I get to be creative, and I have an outlet. But I still love to draw and paint. Some of these pictures are behind me, or some of my work. And I just think, it's important for people to be balanced, not only in, how you are in life or how you think, but balanced with rest, balanced with creativity, balanced with taking on challenges, balanced on how you eat, what you eat, not overworking yourself to the point at which, you're too far gone. Also not, getting in a habit of not working hard enough. It's all encompassing a bit.
It is.
And so, over time, if you're balanced, you kind of work up your weaknesses into strengths over time, because life is not a zero-sum game where you flip a switch and you're good at something. Life is consistent effort applied over a long period of time to mature into something better than you were in in a prior day, a prior week, a prior life even. So, for me, painting is just part of the process. And it also helps me see the world and do a lot of different things that, a typical analytical person just wouldn't do. I have a big hand in designing our app and what our logo looks like and how our pictures are designed and all that other stuff. And I love that. That's something I don't want to give up. And, at some point I will, because it's getting a bit busy. But, I think that's kind of the key. If you, sort of want to live a rich life, have morals that, kind of guide you and, constantly be challenging them in a good way, have a lot of balance, do things that make you uncomfortable so that you can strengthen your weaknesses or get better at it. That's this growth mindset concept, that half of the population has, the other half doesn't. I am of the true belief that people are not necessarily born with aptitude. Everybody kind of has, some may have more natural inclination than others. Some might be a great basketball player. Some might be a great artist. Some might be a great physicist just because they get it. But when you look at averages, we all have very similar levels of intelligence. And that means that you can learn just about anything if you apply yourself. You can get better at anything if you apply yourself. And so I'm very much like that. I just happen to be lucky and good at painting at a young age, and I was good at accounting when I took the first course. So, that's what I do, in life. But I think that if I wanted to be good at, some other, I think if anybody wants to be good at chemistry, even though they don't like it, I think they can become good because they have a general growth mindset that they're not going to fail. And if they do fail, they just get back up and move. So just a little bit about my own philosophy behind why, painting is important and, sort of balance is important.
Absolutely. And and balance is a hard thing to come by because we just, like I said earlier, we're multitasking on so many levels. And I think that sometimes that we forget that the most important thing is taking care of ourselves and listening, because I think that, as parents, our kids watch every single thing that we do. And that's really what is teaching them more than any words that are coming out of our mouth and saying to them, and being in the moment and paying attention to what they have to say, or like we're sitting here doing this right now. Right now, you're the most important thing in my life. And I want to treat you like that, because the greatest gift that I can give is my time and being present. And you're doing the same thing. And I think that those are the things that gives us balance, when we start to realize the importance of listening and being aware and being, active in the conversation and really caring about what the person has to say. We learn a lot. We forget that we learn a lot from all of that, but there's a lot to be learned by doing that, being mindful. So a question for you. What's the next step for, for the company and, Eat Purely? Where's the next step to where you want to do this? Where you want to take this to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've expanded very quickly, at least in our minds, across Chicago. I mean, we are, we're all the way south, on the south side, down south of Roosevelt we deliver all the way up to Evanston. And we want to keep growing our footprint of where we deliver things. But also, we're really excited, and I'm kind of like pre-announcing this a little bit, but we're going to be coming out with, very soon actually, in the next few months, we're going to be coming out with a subscription plan for folks who don't live in our delivery area to receive 4, 6, 8 meals at a time per week in the mail. Because we've figured out a way to put shelf life on our beautiful food. There's no degradation of quality whatsoever, so that you'll be able to get, a package of 4, 6, 8 meals for the week. You put it in your fridge, you open it up when you're ready to eat. And so we'll be able to service the entire Chicagoland marketplace, as well as the state of Illinois. And then by the end of the year, we're going to be looking to expand that into a national footprint.
Of course. And that, I guess that's where I was going, is thinking, what a great national business that you have the opportunity to build by doing exactly, what you're doing. And I love the fact that you're doing it from the inside out. So you're in Chicago and you've targeted, what areas, and you're building from the inside out and expanding even further north and south. And that's really where the growth is. And those people are your cheerleaders to say how happy they are with all of your service and the food and testimonials and all things like that, because that's what helps you to grow, is happy people that, are seeing a difference in their life with energy and weight loss. Because if you are eating the right things and you're not eating a lot of junk, there's no way that the body's not going to, respond to goodness, to that goodness. So you've given us so many, words of wisdom and entrepreneurship. So as an entrepreneur, what's next? I mean, growing this is, I understand that.
Yeah. After Eat Purely or just Eat Purely?
Just you.
Oh, just me. Well, I honestly, I am blessed and grateful for the opportunities that Eat Purely affords me. And I have a wonderful team of people around me, and they're very hardworking, and they're funny and quirky, and they all believe in the mission, which I'm really appreciative of, because they're buying into my mission of concept of life. So I'm really enjoying myself. I really want to see this as a national business, though, because I think we have something important to offer, and I think also we have something that no one else has. And when people across the nation sort of experience what we have to offer comparatively, I think it's just going to be a fantastic success. So that's what I'm really into at the moment. I'm really super focused on that, singularly focused. And we're constantly trying to improve that experience. But I will say this, what we do is very hard. This is not an easy business.
I know.
To execute on a daily basis. We have tons of chefs that, are great, but, we undercook the chicken a little bit, or we overcook the meat a little bit. Somebody always has an opinion about that. And so, we're really looking hard to, input processes and procedures standardized that we already have, but a little, more built out as this year goes on, so that there's more consistency in the food. Not that there isn't now, but, I want to, of course, I strive for perfection. Hopefully we get somewhere close,
I'm the same way. Absolutely. Well, I think that you have, a brand and a process and something that is so healthy and good for the general, population worldwide, that there's no reason that you can't do that. And
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you have the ability to do that. I just wanted to mention, I know that you went to the University of Illinois. In Chicago, and what degree did you get in?
So I got a Bachelor of Science in Accounting.
In accounting.
I'm a CPA, and so I did a bunch of that before I went into the food industry as well. I worked for Ernst & Young and KPMG, and some in mergers and acquisitions, some in audit and compliance, some in business turnaround. Real financial kind of boring stuff, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know how boring it is, but I can tell you that it's very important when it comes to the financials on any company, and especially a company that you're trying to build. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Jeremy, for coming on and being on the WBTVN Expert Spotlight Show for us. And I want to thank our audience too. And I just want to say that if you're interested in being an expert on WBTVN, go to WBTVN.tv, and there's a form that you can fill out, and we will contact you. And so seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I love the fact that you're helping in a healthy way to just change some habits. And I want to just tell everybody, just taste it, just try it, just a little bit. It'll make such a difference in your life and your family's life and everybody around.
And we typically give the first meal away for free too. So
oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Very low.
Yes, get on the phone, make the phone ring. Thank you, everyone, and until the next time, we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye now.